So if you were like me and you grew up as a kid of the 70s and into the 80s, you saw Batgirl on reruns of the Batman 66 TV series and occasionally saw her in the comics as well. And you saw her on the New Adventures of Batman cartoon, probably more regularly than that. This was one of my all-time favorite characters, and you'll notice that I have an earlier review right, off the bat as um, superpowers reviews. I was doing reviews of characters, and I looked at the Enzo Tedesco multiversity version of Batgirl, which is a great figure, incredible figure, and I always wanted to get an RB Customs version of this figure. Always been, since that time, always been a big fan of Barbara Gordon and what she brings to the DC Universe. Hopefully her character is realized at some point on screen very effectively with a Nightwing character. Nightwing and Robin, Dick Grayson being one of the top 4 characters in the DC Universe, along with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. People are starting to realize that now. I see the content creators are saying how difficult that role will be to cast. One of the key relationships of the DC Universe is Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. So love this figure, and specifically what Roan Bella or RB Customs has been able to do with it. So as you can see here, this is a rebuilt Wonder Woman action figure. And it's pretty amazing to think that this is all resculpted. Roan is just amazing how he sculpts a figure. So you can see here fully resculpted hair. You have the fully resculpted or sculpted cowl. You have sculpted gauntlets with the spikes. You have a belt that has been sculpted. You have hips that have been sanded down, and you have boots that have been sculpted to match the Batgirl character. And you have the cape, again, connected perfectly to the shoulders. Love the aesthetic of this figure and love how it blends in seamlessly to the RB Customs collection of superpowers figures. You can see here, so one of the things we tried to do is match her a little bit darker than maybe the versions that were shown early on. That's because I wanted to make sure my Batman was a darker color, matching some of the mid to late 80s versions of Batman. And yeah, some of the early ones were darker too, but trying to pivot a little bit away from the light blue and more into the dark blue. You see she has most of that here. She is slightly darker in the gray area. And it's been so long. I did this version a long time ago, and I know Roan keeps he keeps track of all the colors he uses for figures. Looks like there was just a little bit of a darker color gray used for this. At some point in the future, I'm gonna ask him to just recolor the hair to make it in line with this figure. But nevertheless, it fits in perfectly with this universe. And, you get this sort of fully realized version of Batgirl. And as someone who is now, JLI, Justice League International, was kind of the Justice League of my time when I really started reading comics around 86, 87. Really got into comics more than I ever had before. We've been putting together our JLI version of the Justice League. And now we're doing the Satellite era Justice League and characters that were adjacent to that. Even though Batgirl was not featured in that league, she certainly had a prominent place in the DC universe and in media at that time. So that's one of the reasons why I'm getting her. And then in the near future, also getting Supergirl as well. So I know I haven't posted a video in a while, and hopefully I'll get back to posting a few videos here in the near future. You're going to see another review of Dr. Fate here very, very soon. Another figure that RB Customs has done. But I'll tell you the truth, I've just been busy, and also was not really super excited with the Superman wave. There is a lot of just poorly used sculpts in that wave, outside of what was done with Mr. Terrific and the Mr. Terrific ship. I was not super impressed with what we got with the Superman wave. However, I really did like the last wave, and we'll do a review of that in the very near future. McFarlane was super late in shipping everything out, so was finally able to get it, and as part of the release that was done. And I wasn't going to go get them from overseas, but I do really like what was done in the last wave outside of a couple of scale issues. However, let's get back to this. This Batgirl is a great addition to the Superpowers line. The character, again, Barbara Gordon, such a key and iconic figure. I highly recommend if you want something that is very well done. And again, I always say this, and you probably heard this in other videos, but the RB Customs line to me is the equivalent of what you get out of a Mafex type figure in Superpowers mold, if that makes sense, in Superpowers scale. And love what he was able to do with this. Again, if you want something that's very collectible and just add something that's completely unique to your collection, make sure you get one of your characters realized by RB Customs. So you'll find a link in my bio for him, and please feel free to leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel if you'd like.